Go. Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Biroy, your personal growth and business coach, and I have just one mission to help you do what you love and make your dream business flourish. I'm truly honored and happy to have one of the greatest experts and mentors that I had the pleasure to meet. Paul Higgins is a high performance business mentor, podcaster, and author who helps service based business owners struggling to strike a balance between life and work, adopt a hands off management approach, and improve profits to fund their lifestyles. To aid other service business owners like himself who have came to the conclusion that having a business so reliant on them is just not what's going to work. Paul developed a mentoring program, Build, Live, Give, that helps such business owners take control and implement an end-to-end sales and operation systems that can easily generate profits. That's what we need. Thank you for being my guest today.
It's
I'm
great
so
to be
happy
here.
to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you.
It's
And you?
your very early morning and my very late evening, but it's nice to see you. It's very nice. So tell me, how to get more from your most important asset, the time we have.
Yeah, look, I think the number one thing is, you've got to focus on the right things. And I know that sounds really obvious, but what I find people don't do, which is obvious, is get someone to help with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I find a lot of people spend a lot of time, the classic running up a ladder and realize they're against the wrong wall.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the most important thing is to work with someone to really help you work out what is the 80-20 or the 80-20, the 80-20, which I think is 4%. What's the most important things? And trying to do that by yourself is really, really difficult. So I think that's the first thing. And then once you know that, it's speed of implementation. And to me, there's really two things. One is a virtual assistant. Mm-hmm. So I think everybody needs a virtual assistant or an executive assistant or whatever your term is for that. But I think it's really important to get someone to just clear the path, because there's always lots of things to do and there'll be easy distractions to take away from that core focus. So you need someone to shield you from that, and you need someone to be able to do things on your behalf. And then the last one is the technology to be able to drive the implementation. So, for me, a lot of people are, is it the chicken or the egg? Do you wait to have all your technology and your process set up before you bring on a virtual assistant, or is it the other way around? And I'm a big believer in you get your virtual assistant and they can help set up some of the technology. So they're my four key things that I think are imperative on you, really using the most important asset, which is your time.
That's brilliant. I love how you said you need a shield. That's true. Sometimes I think that my assistants are professional naysayers because we get so many requests. And thank God I'm not the one who has to say no. How to optimum business models so that we actually can scale fast and work less? Because that's obviously that most of the people are struggling with.
Yeah, look, I think for me, I work with service-based businesses. I've always run service-based business models. So coaches, consultants, etc. And I think the number one is recurring revenue. So if you can get some recurring revenue, because you being the business owner is a huge risk, because if something happens to you, then, it's, and I say that from a background where I've had, health opportunities, let's say that. So I know how important it is to protect you. So that's the first thing. But I think then, a lot of people have one or two key clients, and what they found, particularly in COVID, is that that's a high risk strategy of having all their revenue tied up in the one or two clients. And most of that's been by delivery. So if they don't deliver, they don't get paid. So my view is that, have a recurring revenue. So I've got a combination. I've got a bit of a hybrid. So I've got a membership, which, has got 80 people in it. So hopefully not 80 people are going to leave me overnight. So that gives me great protection in my revenue. Also, I know with a surety that I can spend money based on that, because it's, even a 1 or 2% churn rate, you've got a good solid base that you can go and invest in your business. So I think that's the recurring part. And then I've still got recurring revenue with some clients in a group program. And I think the one-to-many is fantastic in that sense, and it's similar to the membership. And the last thing is that I do have some one-on-one, but they're in 12-week lots. So people work with me for a sprint for a very specific outcome in 12 weeks. And yes, that is higher risk, but I make sure that I have enough in the pipeline that it covers the fact that I'm constantly getting people into that 12-week program. So in summary, I think if you've got a recurring revenue component, it's really important, and and try not to get paid by the hour. And the other thing is, you can sort of play wholesale. What I mean by wholesale is that if you can go to someone and get a channel partner or a partner that can bring you one to many. So for example, for me, I might go to a software company that want to use my services as a value add to their service for their customers, to get better results for their customers. And therefore I've only got to sell once to them, and then it's easy to get across. And I think that's another really smart business model. So, your cost of acquisition is lower. So there are a couple of key thoughts, I think, around having an ideal business model.
I love that, especially because we had a conversation a few days ago, and I love that you are making diversification, about which I'm talking all over the place, and
Yes.
also like have at least 3 revenue streams, have different revenue streams, which will actually sustain your business, especially at these times. And one of those, which you mentioned, like a membership site, is basically any kind of passive revenue which can flow even with you when you are not here. This is why I often say that, for example, personal brand can be brilliant, but it has to be sustainable even when the person who is building the brand is not there. So I love what you're doing and everything that you share with us. Now my favorite topic, of course, how do we get leads from LinkedIn?
Yeah. Look, I am obviously, with a name like Paul, I've got to put it into 3 Ps. So I break it up into 3 simple parts. So profile, posting, and then possibilities, I call it, because there's lots of possibilities on LinkedIn, and So I think your profile, it's pretty obvious, for most people what to do, but I don't often see it. And, a profile these days, and you said the exact same thing the other day on my podcast, it's your landing page. You will get more hits to your LinkedIn profile than any other page on your website, for most service-based business owners. So make sure it's like that. It's a mini website. So treat it that way. I see, so your header, make sure that your header, the picture, really talks about who you serve. And for me, I've got my business model there. So people really understand my methodology and what I do in a split second. Make sure the colors are aligned to your branding, so you look professional. I've got your photo, matches your ideal client. And then the headline, I always say with the headline is, have your key skill, because people will see that everywhere. That's the first part that they see. So I'm a high performing mentor. I've got that. So it's very clear what I do. And then I've just got, I help X to do Y through Z, and just make that really simple for people. The about section, make sure that the about section is like your first conversation at a coffee. You meet someone for coffee the first time, you don't go into selling them hard straight away. And I think a lot of profiles, they're either talk about themselves or they're too much sales based. Make it a soft landing. Okay. So, and actually talk as if, I'm not quite sure how you found me, etc. Like, because it's a conversation. You don't know who's hitting your site, or your profile. Unfortunately, analytics aren't great. It's not like a website. So, make it that way. And then the experience is where you really talk specifically about what you do. And you can mention that in the about, that in the experience, I talk more about, the how I do it, but the what and the why is more in the about section. So that's sort of like a quick summary, because the reason I say that is because that is going to be your number one sales page. Because when you do a post and someone loves your post, which is the second P, they'll then go and look at your profile straight away. And if anyone's going to ever meet with you, anytime they come across you, so your profile's got to put your best foot forward. And often I'll interview people on the podcast and they're brilliant on the podcast, but unfortunately their profile, when I go to LinkedIn to do the research, doesn't say what they say. So that's pretty obvious. Posting, I think it's not in short, it's not a solo game.
Mm-hmm.
So there is an algorithm. It's there, I suppose, to be leveraged, and it's a certain amount of likes, a certain amount of comments, and a certain time that really make the difference. And we think it's around 50 likes, 20 comments in the first hour. So you can sort of work out that you need some other people to help you get that. So I think that's pretty obvious. I think the other thing is intriguing headline. So make sure that a view is just a flick in someone's feed. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not that they've actually gone to your post. So to get them to stop and go to your post, to like and to comment, or particularly to comment, because comment we think is worth about twice a like. So comments are really important. So had that intriguing statement and it's above the see more. Excuse me. I think that's really important. And then, I like to write in 1 or 2 line sentences, make it really easy, lots of white space. And then, always do it as if what's someone going to do to take away, what are they going to take away? What can they do, your ideal client, as a result of this post?
Mm-hmm.
Also, always ask a question,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what gets comments, which then improves the algorithm. But you can also then have a conversation with people. The people that like and comment, then you can follow up with them. So it gives you a point of reference to then do some of the possibilities. Mm-hmm. And then I know I won't go on forever here, but on the third one, the possibilities, I think, the key thing is that, everyone's bombarded with outgoing messages at the moment. I think, the world's got on to the power of LinkedIn, and we're all getting messages. So I think you've got to have messages that stand out. So for my high ticket item, which is called Accelerate, how I do it and our community do it is that we send a message. So, I'm looking to connect with high performing business owners. Would you be open to connect? That's basically it. And then I go, P.S. I'll send you a personalized video if you on acceptance, right? So you're already telling them that you're someone different because you're going to send them a personalized video. And then I do a 1-minute personalized video back to them. And I always say, put a face to the name. It's great to build relationships here. Love to know what your focus is. And I also compliment them on something. So I have their LinkedIn profile open, and I've done a little bit of research beforehand. So I know, and I compliment them on something they've done, a post, their book, something that is, I've done research for. It's not just a throwaway compliment. Then what I do is say, look, I'm sending this via email because on your contact information, this is your email. And a lot of times it's their personal one. So I say, look, I'm sending it to your personal email, but can you please reply with your work email or your business email? And then that's, and what I say is, look, if you want to chat, there's a link below that you can book a 30-minute chat with me. If you want, and if I see something sometimes on their profile, I might just put a value add video in there as well. That it's they're still making the choice to click on that. Okay. So that's a 1-minute video that I send to them. I customize the subject line to say, effectively, it's safe. It's safe to open and even safer to view. So I use a bit of humor that they're going to get a video. They watch the video. And because it's in their email now, I can see when they've opened their email through the analytics
Mm-hmm.
of the platform that I use. And then, I continue the conversation from there. So that's how I get more leads with those 3 Ps: profile, posting, and possibilities.
I absolutely love this. And you know what I love the most? Because I'm not the one who is saying that. Because I'm bubbling about that all the time. And now, guys, you're going to hear that from someone else who also have results so that you know this is really sustainable. I say that LinkedIn is a gold mine for business, and I truly mean that because it's like a networking event opposed to other social media, which are more like a barbecue in the backyard, as I can see that. Of course, I'm on other social media, but the most valuable content, which actually helps my business to grow, is on LinkedIn. There it's like you're swimming in aquarium, and everywhere else is like you're in ocean, like you have no idea with who you are connecting. On LinkedIn is very obvious with who you are connecting, how you are going to establish that connection, and how you're going to proceed further. So do we need to say more? Okay. Now, this one is very important. How can we pick the right experts so that we actually don't wear all the hats that we actually do?
Yeah, look, and I think it's hats, but it's also the opportunity cost of the investment.
Yes.
So, I've unfortunately, I worked at Coca-Cola for 18 years. We work with some of the best people in the world. I
Mhm.
stepped into my own business and I took everyone for their word, right? That they
Mhm.
said they were going to deliver on what they promised, because that's what always happened. Sadly, that wasn't the case. Now, I had someone I paid $15,000 to help develop an online course disappeared. I had someone that did an R&D grant, research and development grant,
Mhm.
and they, you know, were referred by someone, but unfortunately, I didn't do my research, and that guy, everybody that submitted a claim basically had to pay the government back that money.
Mhm.
So, as a
Mhm.
small business owner, having to pay back,
Mhm.
over $50,000 really
Mhm.
stung. So one of my passions is making sure that that doesn't happen to other business owners. So I've got about 470 experts in the world that
Mhm.
I've personally spoken to, and I've verified that they will do a great job. And if they don't, and someone tells me, obviously they're taken off the list. So I think that's
Mhm.
the overall point. So the first thing is get referrals, right? So
Mhm.
go to your peer group and really make sure that
Mhm.
they're referred by someone you know. So that's the first point. But then make sure that they serve you. So let's say that their ideal client is you. Okay,
Mhm.
so often you'll get in a conversation, say, "Oh, show me an example where you work with someone like me," and they'll say, "Oh, well, I haven't really worked with someone like you, but I've worked with someone like this." No, red flag. Okay, they've got
Mhm.
to have delivered results for someone like you.
Mhm.
Um, so I
Mhm.
think that's really important,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
they can have proof of that, and they're okay for you to go and call those people.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
The next is a clear methodology. So especially if you're working with a coach, a mentor, a consultant, that they've actually got a proven path of how they get results. So they say to you over, like for me, if you work with me over 12 weeks, this is exactly what I'm going to deliver for you. So you're 100% clear. I think a red flag for picking an expert or a specialist is when they say, I'm going to customize it for you.
Mhm.
Okay, because that often means that they don't really know what they'll do. They'll take your
Mhm.
money and they'll make it up as they go. Okay, so I think that's really important.
Mhm.
The next
Mhm.
one is, have they got a team, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
have they got a team that's actually going to support them in
Mhm.
supporting you? I think if they're one person, it's hard. It would be hard for me to say, I've got two key things I work with is, sales and building a team. But if I don't have a team myself, that's a major red flag. And then the last one
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
they're actually hard to get into. Okay. So that they're busy, they
Mhm.
don't have latent capacity. I think that proves that they're in high demand and therefore they're
Mhm.
difficult to get into. And often, that if they're the price is too low, then that often means that they're not trying to control their demand. And therefore, if the price is too low, that's probably a pretty good indication of they're not great. Now, there's always people that step into an industry and they can be rising stars that you just, luckily pick. And I'm sure, I was definitely one of those where I underpriced to begin with, like most of us, but I delivered a great result. But I think normally pricing is a good indication of how good someone is.
Brilliant. I actually didn't thought of many of those things which you just mentioned. Yeah. But I'm a little bit different. I kind of have a very, very, very strong intuition, and I just know if I should connect with someone or don't. And then it's much easier, when you feel you should connect with someone, then you investigate just them. So it takes a lot of time. Yeah, now we are in a very, very challenging times. So most of the people are working remotely. How we can effectively and efficiently actually run the remote team?
Yeah. Look, great question. And I'll actually refer to my notes here to make sure that I get it best for you guys listening. But I'll go through two components. So one is what I consider is important for running any team, not just a remote team, but I think it's the core foundations of running any team. And I was very fortunate. 18 years at Coca-Cola, we were trained brilliantly on how to lead teams. We actually got sick of the amount of leadership development we did. It was, it was amazing the opportunities we got. So I've learned a lot from that. I want to share that because Coca-Cola is 150 years old. It's a brilliantly run company with maybe not a relevant product. That's how I would best describe it today. Now, when I was, 8 years old and my dad worked for Coca-Cola, you brought Coke to a party and, you were the hero. Now, if you brought Coke to a party, you would be asked to put it in the bin. So, well, certainly in Australia, it's changed a lot. Anyway, back to teams. So the first one is that you got to have the right culture. Okay. And the culture is what I say is the culture is what people say about your team when you're not there or you're not listening, right? It's a bit like leadership, but I think, people, when they actually meet your team, they say, hey, there's just something about these guys. They're all got this. I think that's what culture is to me. And it's best defined by you living those values. The second is engagement. So, people, it doesn't matter what you pay someone. If they're not engaged and they don't love what they do, you're not going to get the best out of them. Okay. And therefore they won't get the best out of you as well. So I think engagement and measure it. Like these days, there's some brilliant tools. I put some of those in my book, but there's some brilliant tools where you can actually on a monthly basis just track engagement. And, I think that's really important when it's hard to have, some conversations, right? There's always those conversations unsaid. So I think actually tracking the true level of engagement of your team is really important. And there's some great tools that, we used to wait for an employee engagement survey, which would be, once a year. And, it wasn't really relevant in a large organization, but in yours, you can do it more quickly. And next is capability, right? So I think have a look at the capability of your people. And we used to use a simple 6-box process where it had performance and it had potential. And you just rated your team on that based on them filling out some information and you. Now, like you said before, intuition, you should know about your team, but I think it's very easy on a remote team. And also when you're running a smaller team is to forgive underperformance. Okay. Yes, it's difficult to find someone like that. So I'll just put up with who they are. Now, I believe in above the line and below the line capability development. Below the line is the individual needs to take responsibility for what they're doing. But above the line is, are you giving them the best development possible to make them the best that they can be? And I think you need to independently get someone to come in and value evaluate your team in those 6 boxes to really decide what, have you got the right team in place? I think that's really important. And I forget the exact saying, but what is it? What happens if you train your team and they leave? And it's like, what happens if you don't train your team and they stay? So the next one is, performance management. So you can have plans, you can have performance reviews. Yes, they're corporate words, but you can make them fun and you can make them relevant, but you need to have some of these processes. The best companies in the world have them because they work. So you can do the exact same thing in your business. And the other one is development. Talk about development, career development. I take 30 minutes a month just to talk about competency skills that they want to develop and actually working on specific things to help them in their career. So I think that's really important. The next one is recruitment and onboarding. I won't talk too much about this other than say that that's the most critical part, right? Is picking the right people in the first place and then making sure that the onboarding is as smooth as possible so that their engagement is high from the start. And just on recruitment, the one thing I will say is, just use video. So use video that, if you might have 20 applicants for a particular role, make sure that you ask each of them to do a video for 2 minutes and just talk about 6 things. I always talk about, their passion. I've just got 6 questions, right? They're not difficult questions, but I think your intuition that you spoke about before, Catherine, that'll kick in. I've been hiring people and running, teams for 27 years. So I've got that intuition, but it's easier to pick up on a video straight away to get them into the next round. Next is the systems, and that's sort of above the line. So the systems is what you can do to make their job as easy as possible. And that goes back into the technology piece I spoke about at the start, but having those systems. So, have a project management system that makes it easy for people to do their job. They come in, there's a checklist of things that the easier that you have those systems, particularly remotely, the better it is. Experts, I won't dwell on it, but you heard it before. So bring in experts where your team don't have capability. So don't put your team in a situation where they just don't have the time or the bandwidth. So I'll just add this to your current role and then they get out of capacity. Plus it's a lot faster just to bring in someone that does that day in, day out. So don't stretch your team too wide, just bring in experts. And the last one is routines and roles and responsibilities, and make sure they're really clear. I'm still old school where one person ultimately owns the decision. Okay. So for me in Asana, you can only ever assign one person to it. And I always make sure that there's one person ultimately responsible. So yes, you can collaborate, but it's really clear, okay, for this particular thing, who owns it in the team? And the team, if they have clear ownership, then I think they'll take more responsibility, but make that really clear. So they're the key things. Just quickly on some ad hoc things that I think is brilliant for running a remote team is use a communication platform. So we use Voxer, Voxer, and just anything that is not a task or not repeatable, just use Voxer. The other thing is use video. So I use video a lot. So if I go to do any tasks now, it's always got me talking with the video of the screen, and that's so easy to do now. You can use Loom, there's Dub, there's Cloud App, there's lots of applications out there to do it. Asana I spoke about. It doesn't matter what type of project management tool, but I think that's critical these days. I do little daily updates. So every day our team goes in and says, what was their key win from the day prior? What's their key focus for the day, and what's the key challenge? And it's a great way of me then, voxing them and saying, okay, tell me a bit more about that challenge. How can I actually help you remove that? Because that's your job as a leader, is to remove obstacles for your team. I do a weekly video. So I go through every team member and what they've done for the week, rewarding them so that everyone else gets to see that as well. And then I also talk about just the highlights that we've had as a total business. That's great. And then the last one is just give people random time off. So when they least expect it, they've just done a project, they've done whatever, just say, look, I want you to go away. I want you to have dinner with your your partner,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and put something like that, or I just want you to take a day off next week, or you pick the day, but within the next month you've definitely got to take a day off and just go and enjoy yourself. So I think they're the things you can do as a business owner that I would love. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that your team would.
I love this. I absolutely love this. I wish to mention that at the beginning of the year, I went through Goldman Sachs program for business development. And actually, one of the core elements of the program was leading the team. And the first thing that you mentioned was the culture. Knowing actually what is the culture that we want to bring into the team, so they are aware of that everyone knows what is their job, and that everyone really is clear about that, and how you lead them is actually showed by how they really do the work when you're not around. so, so I love everything that you just mentioned, and those little things like give them a day off or something like that, which is not much, but it really brings joy to that person's life, and it really can benefit everyone, not just in the company but everyone around. I love this approach. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that.
and I sort of have a file on each person, and
Uh-huh.
it all it is I'll ask them during the year, what did you do on the weekend? What do you love to do? When's you know, they might have their mum's birthday or whatever. So I then refer back to that to make sure that I'm constantly,
Mm-hmm.
surprising them with things. So if I give them a gift for their birthday, it's in relation to what they've sort of told me through the years. So I think it doesn't cost you anything to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I just pick up on things, and I've got a file for each person. So I know
Mm-hmm.
all their family names. Yeah, just think, if you're watching this now, just think like, how much do I really know about my team?
Yeah, yeah,
And that's the
exactly.
opportunity for you to fill those gaps. And that brings, because it does become like a family, and it does bring more engagement if you really understand that, no matter where they live.
And it's better, it's better established human connection,
Yeah.
so they feel like a part of the family, and they actually work with joy, and they give more, so everyone, it's a win 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 situation. Wonderful. Now this is something that I really like. What systems you use to have like full work flexibility, that the business doesn't depend on you actually?
Yeah. So look, I've mentioned a few of those, but I use Voxer. So
Mm-hmm.
that's for media communication. Asana, as I said, that's our go-to
Mm-hmm.
project management tool. So we use that. I think I do use a lot of video. So I
Mm-hmm.
use a platform called Dub, D-U-B-B. So that's what I
Mm-hmm.
use a lot of video for. Obviously use Zoom
Mm-hmm.
for all my calls. That's brilliant. And look, I think we've got an enormous stack, but they're probably the ones that I'd struggle to do business without, is those key ones. And then what I've also collected is all my knowledge in a platform called Airtable. So if just not for myself, but for all of my team, all of our knowledge pool is in Airtable. So a new person can go and find nearly everything we've done. In Airtable is the knowledge. In Asana is the actual tasks and the SOP on actually how you do things. And if you
Mm-hmm.
want to ask me a quick question, you can send me a quick video on Voxer. So that
Mm-hmm.
sort of rounds out how the systems I use to run my team. And then the one that is the most important, I suppose, personally for me, is my sales CRM. So that's Copper. So that's
Mm-hmm.
where all of the relationships are built. So what we take off LinkedIn is all in Copper. So, if
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn ever changed for whatever reason, we've got all of our key
Mm-hmm.
contacts in there. We've got all their personal information. We've got everything about them in
Mm-hmm.
there. And that sort
Mm-hmm.
of becomes the hub, because our clients are most important. And, the client knowledge is in that system, which also supports the team.
Wonderful. When you interviewed me, I made a joke like, after being programmer for 13 years, I don't use technology anymore. But of course, that was just a joke, because today I made a list of the technology which I'm using, and it's, oh my god, I need to make something work. I actually use Telegram instead of Voxer. We were on Voxer for some time, and now Telegram gives a bit of maybe head-on, not just for teams, but there is like a channel so you can have subscribers. And as me being a public person, that's something which actually can benefit us. Those kinds of systems which are not social media, like you just mentioned, you have a special system. So what if LinkedIn something change? This is exactly why I moved to Telegram, because that's my ownership in terms of being connected to my phone and all of that. I lost actually a Facebook page of 35,000 people. I don't know why. It was just unpublished, you know. So when you experience something like this, you realize you need to build your own things. So you focus on your own website, your own systems, and systems like this, which are sustainable.
Yeah,
Okay.
and just
So.
quickly on that,
Mm-hmm,
Catherine, I use
mm-hmm,
a platform also called 10x Pro. So it's
mm-hmm,
the number 10
mm-hmm,
X Pro, Pro.io.
mm-hmm,
And that, think about that as your membership site, your webs, all your websites, all your landing pages, all your payment gateways, all on one. But the most important thing there is that you can take all of that information at any point. So I think, yeah,
mm-hmm,
I think that's really powerful.
mm-hmm,
And that's
mm-hmm,
one other tool that we use for our membership our online courses for our
mm-hmm,
mentoring program. But I think, yeah, that's really important to do that. And that's why, as I said earlier, on LinkedIn, as soon as I connect, the next conversation I have is actually through email to get their email. And then that hopefully leads to the fact that they then become on the list. Even if they don't buy, they
mm-hmm,
come on the list. I can give them valuable content, and that's
mm-hmm,
something I own.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, I
mm-hmm.
completely agree with you.
Yeah, we also moved everything from, I had courses on Teachable and I used several other platforms, but we integrated everything on our website. So we have it under our roof, and we are using LearnPress and a few of other actually softwares. But basically, yes, I definitely, after what happened with my Facebook page, and I would like audience to know that, I definitely moved everything that I could from other platforms to actually something which is in my home, right under our roof, as I like to say that. So nothing can happen except that, you know what happened, like 200 malwares attacked my website like 2 weeks ago, but I have a team who worked 24 hours to save my website. So those hackers, if they would use that knowledge for something positive, that would be much more beneficial. But I mean, that's what happened. What happens, and we have to be prepared. Um, okay, so how have you built your business while dealing with a chronic condition? I know you had health issues.
Yeah. So for me, a quick backstory at 18,
Mm-hmm.
I looked at my mum. I walked out of a doctor's, looked at my mum, and we both knew that I had the same condition that she had. It's called polycystic kidney disease, and it
Mm-hmm.
just grows cysts in different organs. We've got them both in the kidney and the liver. So mum lost her dad when she was 12. I
Mm-hmm.
nearly lost mum when I was about the same age, but obviously, um, medicine's advanced and we were able to just keep her. But she had lots of, I think she died 3 times on the table, as they
Mm-hmm.
say. So yeah, she had lots of long-term issues. So she knew that she'd passed the same condition on, and that was heartbreaking. But in that moment, I sort of said, well, look, I've got to do everything I can to get an optimal outcome here, and that sort of led me in the path of high performance, which is what I've always believed in. But yeah, so 2011 came along. My kidney function was declining fast, and my specialist said, "Look, do you want to see your grandkids?" And I said, "Yes, definitely want to do that." She said, "Well, you better leave corporate and start taking care of yourself," because I was, director of Coca-Cola. Yeah, you got to work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I left in 2011. I said, okay, so what can I run from a hospital bed effectively? And that's why I set up the businesses the way that I did. And, that's a complete remote team. It's recurring revenue. It's me being able to use my knowledge from anywhere, i.e. my podcasts, I wrote a book. And also when I mentor, I can mentor from, a phone on a beach. I can mentor from a hospital bed, which I did several times. So that's how I set up the model. 2018, I had a pretty poor nephrectomy, which is a removal of a kidney. Think of a mini soccer ball, so about 4 kilos was my kidney they removed. And they basically tore my main aorta, and the main artery to the heart because the kidney was so large, and I was basically moments from leaving. I survived that. Never missed a beat. So I got a podcast episode out. I worked for 9 days. I didn't know who I was, but my team basically helped me. I was in ICU for 9 days. My team helped me brilliantly. And then 2019, my best friend gave me a kidney and had a transplant. And I went all through that working the whole time. And, it's, my mum taught me that if you think of others and you help others, you don't have any woes in the world. And, yes, I went through some pretty tough times. Like 6% kidney function is your worst hangover. You haven't slept for 48 hours every minute of the day. It's really, really taxing. But, the longer you keep your kidney, the longer, like let's say a transplant lasts 20 years, right? So the longer it takes on your poor performing kidneys, the longer you're extending your life. And it's this real battle, but it was absolutely horrendous near the end. I can't tell you how bad I felt, but it sort of became the new norm. But I did that to extend it. But now I'm back. I've put on 15 kilos. I'm just so thankful. It's actually when the day we're recording this today is my best friend's birthday that gave me the kidney. He's well. He's gone to Mount Everest base camp 4 months after having the op. He's great, and it's good. And the thing that really touched me the most is mum saw this. So mum got to see me have a better outcome than she got and her father got, and all the family members, a brother, it's a 50-50 at birth that you get it. So there's a high rate of mortality in our family from it. But mum got to see me get a better opportunity than she did. And also mum got to see, Brendan, who's like her second son of 30 years, give me a kidney. And then mum passed, 4 months after the operation. She really waited on dialysis for that to happen. So yeah, that was brilliant.
Oh my! Oh, I have goosebumps, and I'm so happy things happen this way, and for you, and happy birthday to your friend. You have incredible friend. We actually share a bit of a similar story. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but I was diagnosed with the Coxsackie virus. It attacked my heart, and I was. Well, they told me I might live 1.5 years because my heart was stopping 10,000 times per day. And as you can see, that was like 12 years ago. Who was wrong? I don't know, but I'm still here. And that was one of the very serious awakening moments in my life when I also decided to take things in my hands. And it was challenging. But I'm grateful for the experience because it made me grow to who I am now. So I know how it feels, and I know how it feels to feel good again. So yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy you are. Now we're going to have some fun. We are stepping into the second part of the interview. I will ask you very quick questions, and you have like 10 seconds to answer to me, and you will hear the ring bell. Okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Are you ready?
Yes.
What's your favorite book?
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, I was tapping this like 3 times. So I stopped because I had a thought, that was one of my favorite books too. What's your life motto?
High performance. As I said before, it's, you can control most of what happens in your life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's eye-opening when we realize that's when the life starts to change. Really, really transformative. And what do you do in your free time?
I listen to lots of podcasts and I play golf.
Oh, wonderful. I thought like most of my guests say what's a free time, but I knew that you will have because you are an expert of leveraging all these systems to work for you. Thank you so much for being my guest. It was truly a pleasure and honor, and thank you for sharing such vast knowledge which you have. Where people can find you, how they can reach out to you. Would you like to add something, and what we can expect from your magic and
Yeah, yeah.
next
So
year, for example?
So look, everything is on
Mm-hmm.
paulhigginsmentoring.com. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my key personal brand site. That's where you'll get everything. You can also link to my product page, which is Build, Live, Give. And also we've got an assessment there when you arrive, and it's 15 questions, less than 3 minutes, but it really helps you decide whether you're going to have a high seven-figure business or a low seven-figure business in 2021. So you can take that assessment in 3 minutes when you hit the landing page.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye.
Brilliant. Thanks, Catherine. Bye.